I've been a bit concerned about my health recently. Actually, that's not quite true. Mrs. Gorman has been a bit worried about my health recently. She hasn't said anything, but I can tell. What really gave it away is some shopping she did recently. She asked if there's anything I wanted from the shops, and I said, oh, I'm running low on cereal. Would you get a new box of weetabix? I'm a weetabix man. And she returned with a box of 12 weetabix. 12? Now, Mrs. Gorman does not eat the weetabix, but I do. And I don't think it's controversial of me to say that I eat 2 at a time. So 12 bisques is obviously just 6 breakfasts. 6 breakfasts! Mrs. Gorman doesn't think I'm going to last a week, for crying out loud. Why would anyone buy less than a week's worth of breakfast at the shops? You see, this is one of the fundamental differences between the two of us. I am a bulk buyer. When I buy cereal, I buy a 48 bisque box. You see, Mrs. Gorman and I, we have different priorities. She hates clutter, whereas I hate running out of cereal. Of course, I acknowledge there are problems with the 48 bisque box. If this diagram represents a box, and these are your 4 sleeves of wheat bisques, then you can see that what you start with is a nice, neat, well-packed box. But 18 days in, when you've eaten 36 bisques, you can see that what you have now is a very baggy box. There's a lot of room there for that kind of movement, and that is going to damage the integrity of your bisques. Now, if this diagram isn't making things clear, perhaps this photo will help explain what I'm talking about. But there are ways of dealing with this. Luckily, your average wheat bisque has an interesting quality in that it is roughly 9 centimetres long and roughly 4.5 centimetres wide. This means the bisques can be loaded in a variety of formations. They fit in the box like so, but could just as easily fit in like so. Indeed, they could also do that, and there are a couple of other formations, but let's not get bogged down in unnecessary detail. What this means is that you can solve a baggy box using a pair of scissors and a couple of elastic bands. And this is what I do. When I'm down to 3 sleeves, I cut the box down like so. I slide the 2 pieces together, and I use the elastic bands to give the whole thing some rigidity. And the baggy box is now as tight as a football pundit's trousers. Now, obviously, you repeat the move every time you complete a sleeve so that you get a snug 24 bisque box and, of course, a snug 12 bisque box to end on. Now, I think that's a useful tip for the world, so early one morning, I thought I would share it on Twitter. I know the world's in turmoil, but I've just cut a 48 bisque box down to 12 bisque size, so at least our cupboard is tidier. Do you know what? I was surprised and a little heartened by the reaction. There were a few people who replied to say, oh, at least it's not just me then. That's nice, isn't it? Nice. Comforting to know you're not alone in the world. This person said, glad someone else cuts their cereal boxes to fit. Thought it was just me, although I think they might have been taking the piss as they went on to say, cornflakes are the worst offenders. Nobody's doing that. Not doing that. Far and away, the biggest reaction came from people who seemed shocked to discover that I had a supermarket-own brand cereal. A man of your standing should be eating proper weetabix, seemed to be the general vibe. And I genuinely didn't know that so many people could taste the difference. But it seems that they can. Now, Weetabix claims to be the nation's favourite cereal, so I'm guessing there must be a few Weetabix eaters in tonight. Does anyone fancy doing a taste test? There's definitely a few people who are keen. Are you a Weetabix eater, sir?
Certainly am.
And you're confident you could tell the difference?
Reasonably.
Yeah, OK. I'm going to sweeten the deal for you, sir. A £20 note. A £20 note says you can't taste the difference. I'm offering you a 50-50 chance of winning 20 sobs. You know, it's a no-brainer. It's what my old nan used to call a lamb or lizard question, isn't it? It's a lamb or... Is that not a... Like just in my family, the lamb or lizard. Anyway, it's a no-brainer. 20 quid. Are you up for it?
Yep.
What's your name there, sir?
Peter.
Peter, take your place on this side of the trolley if you could, sir. OK. And Mark, would you please release the cloche? There you go. You've got 2 dry wheat bisques and a knife and fork. One of them is a supermarket-owned brand and one of them is the Weetabix. Would you like some milk with it, sir?
A little bit.
You would.
Please.
That'd be 20 quid. I'll tell you what, just because I like the cut of your jib, I'll give you some milk there if you like. OK. Would you like to pour some on that one yourself? OK. Just, have a little go and just see if you can taste the difference between the two. I mean, obviously, it's tricky. They're both 95% wheat.
That's good.
That was good, yeah.
Also good, but not quite as good.
So you think that one's Weetabix, and this is supermarket owned?
Yeah.
You're wrong, so it's a very simple code, A for Asda. You got it wrong. You don't get the 20. It was A for Asda, B for branded. It was obvious. I don't know why you couldn't work that out, but anyway. Take your seat, never mind, Thanks for trying. Thank you. It was a good effort. It was a good effort. People can't tell at all, can they? I don't understand why people were so insistent that I ought to be taking the branded bisques. I generally didn't know that grown-ups actually cared about this sort of stuff. I mean, when you're 12 and your schoolmates are giving you grief because there are 4 stripes on your trainers, I understand that a brand name can feel very important to you. But when you're 46 and choosing a flaky wheat biscuit, I don't understand why anyone thinks it's supposed to count. I said as much on Twitter, and if I'm honest, the reaction only added to my confusion. If it worries you, bud, it doesn't. Do what I do. Buy a box of 12 real Weetabix, then reload the box with fake ones. No one will ever know. That's remarkable advice, isn't it? In the Gorman household, we have a phrase for advice like that. We call that WTNS, which stands for Worse Than Neil Sean. Now, don't worry, I'm not expecting you to remember who Neil Sean is, but let me jog your memory, because we have discussed his work previously on the show. Neil is the showbiz reporter who, as you can see, is very skilled when it comes to choosing a tie that colour coordinates with the colour scheme of whichever foreign broadcaster he's working for. And he's also the author of the book, Neil Sean's How to Live Like a Celebrity for Free, which we discussed way back when in Series 2. It is full of great tips for living the celebrity lifestyle on a budget, like how to get free shoes by calling up a shoe shop and telling them you'd like to be a shoe tester, because, as we all know, most high street stores need shoe testers. Well, it also contains this tip. Buy cheap mints and put them in a better style tin. Perhaps your mints are from Aldi, but when you offer them round, the tin says Harrods or Selfridges, which in essence is exactly what this correspondent is telling me to do with my wheat bisques. But remarkably, this advice is actually worse. Because the only people who are going to think, oh, look at him with his fancy Dan cereal, are my wife and 18-month-old son. And they've already bought their tickets for the Gore train. They can't get off. We're in. But I am aware that I am something of a lone voice on this one. Most people I know definitely seem to be convinced that the brand is best. I think this is probably the tweet that best captures the mood for me, at Dave Gorman. Would you watch a tribute act if you could easily get in to see the real star? Hashtag serial shame. I don't think you can compare a breakfast cereal to a star musician. A musician has a unique DNA that no 95% wheat product could ever boast. These 4 Asda bisques are not the bootleg Wheatles, are they? You know that if you went to see an Elton John tribute act and he sang every single thing completely note perfect, it still would not be as good as watching the actual Elton John. Because actual Elton John created that music, because it comes from his heart. So watching him perform it will always be better than watching somebody else copy it. But Weetabix make over 10 million Bix a day. They're 95% wheat, just like the Asda bisques. In fact, the 2 products have almost identical recipes, the same ingredients listed in the same order. If you want to work out the differences between them, you really need to drill down into nutritional values. And I can tell you that the major difference is that the Asda bisque is supposed to have an extra 0.07 grams of salt. And that bisque there weighs 19.19 grams. So that extra salt accounts for 0.36% of the bisque. It turns out that my supermarket own brand cereal is 99.64% identical to the household name cereal. And that's why it's not a tribute act. No Elton John tribute could ever be 99.64% of Elton John. Do you know what is 99.64% of Elton John? Elton John just after he's done a tiny poo. or a significant fart. And let me tell you, you don't leave a candle near that wind. On that glorious note, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a break. I'll see you on the other side.